A small boy is tap dancing enthusiastically for a lucky dog vendor. The vendor ignores him. The lucky dog vendor has his nose buried in a paperback novel. Gabriel noticed that it is not. Big surprise. One thing. A lucky dog vendor has set up business in the square.
You dance pretty well for a kid.
Give me some money then.
I don't have any.
Don't block the view, mister.
You do requests?
Got any money?
No.
Something to eat?
No.
There you have it. No.
You do requests?
Interrogating the little boy wouldn't be very useful.
Could I get a lucky dog, please?
Not now, I'm busy.
An unambitious person? In the 90s? Ah, amazing.
Hello, are you selling lucky dogs or not?
The vendor ignores Gabriel entirely.
Hello? You mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yep, I mind, all right.
Why?
Because A, I don't know anything, and B, I'm busy.
Oh. You mind if... What? Oh. I have this gift certificate.
I'm busy.
It's good for $20 at St. George's Books, finest bookstore in New Orleans.
Really? I'll have to check it out sometime.
You could take this gift certificate with you, if you'll give me a lucky dog.
A lucky dog with a $20 gift certificate? Sure, here you go.
The lucky dog is plump and juicy. That would be a mess. Although the mustard is teasingly poured into a pattern like shade, Gabriel's eyes can make no sense of it.
You wouldn't like a lucky dog by any chance.
Would I? Thanks, mister. You got any special requests, let me know.
An artist is taking advantage of the fine weather. The juggler looks like a beginner practicing the act. An artist. Jackson Square is a
Hey, come back here. Hey! Oh, unbelievable. Rotten luck!
There's her drawing caught up against the hedges.
You mentioned something about special requests.
Yeah. You got one?
Can you fit through the bars around the statue?
Can I? Just watch me.
Good. There's something in there I can't quite reach. Come on. Can you reach that piece of paper?
Sure thing. Here you go. Yep. See ya.
It's a technical drawing of St. Louis Cathedral. The single sheet of paper doesn't need to be opened. There's nothing written on the drawing.
This belongs to you, doesn't it?
My drawing? How'd you get it?
Oh, it was a bit of a squeeze, but I hate to see you lose your work. I lost my only copy of a manuscript once.
Well, you saved my butt. Let me know if I can ever do the same for you, huh?
The other park...
Say, do you think there's anything you can do with these patterns?
What do you need?
Is there any way you can reconstruct the whole pattern from these partials?
Pattern is probably circular, and there's some repetition in the elements. What is this from, anyway?
You'd never believe me.
Okie dokie. Well, there's... I think there's an area missing. If you could get me any more of these...
I'll see what I can do. I have another one of those patterns.
Really? Let's see. Yeah, this is great. I think there's enough overlap now. I'll give it my best shot. I'll show you what I come up with tomorrow.
Great. I appreciate it.
Welcome, my friend.
Hello?
I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that. Reminds me of a book critic for the New York Times. He's got more hair than Mosely.
Flickering candles lend an appropriately spooky atmosphere to the museum. On the table is a small coffin, so small in fact that it would only fit an infant.
Charming.
It's the exit to Ursula Street. The historical voodoo museum is brimming with items authentic and original. A street drummer has settled outside the museum. A wooden doll with horns is on the back table.
Looks like Jack Nicholson.
The back wall displays various voodoo items such as an anatomically correct voodoo doll with pins strategically placed.
Now why does that remind me of Grace?
A balcony surrounds the room on the second level. It's closed to the public. An official voodoo wish and stomp, rabbit and make a wish, a card say.
Funny, I say the same thing to women.
An authentic looking pole marks the center of the room. Authentic what? Gabriel isn't sure. A striking portrait of a turbaned woman is on the back wall. Gabriel wonders who she might be. Large, elaborate drums occupy a corner of the museum. A very large, very formidable-looking snake is secured in a plexiglass cage. Dr. John is a huge man. If his manner weren't so pleasant, he'd be intimidating. A counter at the back displays brochures and a donation basket. It's a basket for donation to the Free Museum. It's a basket.
This is quite a place you have here.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. I have dedicated myself to the preservation of this unique culture. It is gratifying to see others reap the fruits I have sown.
So where'd you pick up all this stuff?
Oh, here and there. We accept donations of any pertinent items.
Did you ever get any wackos in here?
You mean besides yourself?
Yeah, besides me.
I do not care to make those kind of judgments, Mr. Knight. All are welcome here.
You're a big guy, aren't you? Do you work out? Play sports?
I do not play basketball, if that is what you want to know.
Who, me? No. You just look like such a natural athlete.
I do find ways of keeping fit, Mr. Knight. After all, our bodies are temples.
You sound like Grace. I should get the two of you together.
Is Grace your wife?
No, she just acts like it. So what do you think of our summer weather? Have you ever seen it so overcast or so muggy?
It is unpleasant. The heavens are not pleased these days.
Nice outfit.
I prefer simple cotton to dead flesh, Mr. Knight.
I'll have to remember that. So, how is the museum business?
Those who truly seek understanding are few, Mr. Knight. But even one can be an audience.
Yep, sounds about like my shop. So where'd you pick up all...
Oh?
Could I ask you some questions?
That is why I am here.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo? Or the voodoo currently practiced in the city?
What can you tell me about... What do you know about the voodoo murders?
The killings in the newspaper? I know that they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States as far as I am concerned.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum's snake, Mr. Knight. They are beautiful creatures, do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
Have you ever heard of a Schottenjäger?
No, I have not.
Tell me about yourself.
Me?
Yes, if you don't mind.
What is it you wish to learn?
Why did you open a voodoo museum?
The subject has fascinated me all my life, and I wanted to help preserve the cultural heritage it represents.
What kind of background in voodoo do you have?
Let us say that I cut my teeth on it, Mr. Knight. It is in my blood.
Do you do anything besides run the museum?
No. The museum does not make me a rich man, but my material needs are simple. I prefer to focus on my one true interest in life.
What are your own religious beliefs?
My beliefs are too personal and too complex to discuss with a layman, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am originally from the West Indies myself, you know.
Really? What brought you to New Orleans?
I was drawn here for personal reasons.
Just tell me anything.
I am a vegetarian.
Really? I can't imagine living without meat.
That must be the hunter in you, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I do not care for small talk, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am not an easy person to get to know. I am a very private man.
Isn't that unusual for someone in the museum business?
Not at all. My displays speak for me.
Just tell me anything.
Not everyone can come see the museum, so I occasionally do public speaking on the subject of historical voodoo.
Anything coming up that I might attend?
No. But then, you have me all to yourself right now, do you not?
Just tell me anything.
I am originally...
Actually, I can't think of a thing.
Then, let us discuss something else.
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Sounds good.
As you may know, voodoo is a grassroots religion formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade, but African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves. But the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively. The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importing of slaves from that region.
So, how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves. Around the same time, a slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans. Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight, if only in the form of a communal bond. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou St. John and the shore of Lake Pontchartrain. The early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses. But from about 1830, a single power emerged. This was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
I've given you as much detail as I can, Mr. Knight. Look around the museum if you desire more information.
Tell me about current voodoo.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo, and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and there are many in their religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I, personally, am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo. But it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
Tell me more about current voodoo.
There are many voodooians in New Orleans. They often do business selling gree-gree, telling fortunes, providing luck, and occasionally misfortune. Perhaps you would like to meet a voodooian. We refer those who seek a deeper experience with voodoo to a local practitioner, Magentii Moonbeam.
Sure, I'd love to meet her.
She lives on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine. I will call her and tell her you might stop by.
Great, thanks. Tell me more about current voodoo.
You have tapped my resources. My expertise is really historical. Perhaps Ms. Moonbeam can be of further help.
Do you know Malia Getty?
Should I?
She referred me to your museum.
Many have read about our museum in the newspapers, Mr. Knight.
That's a good point. Are you sure you don't know Malia Getty?
Quite sure, Mr. Knight.
Are you? Is there anything else I should know about hoodoo?
Not if your interest is primarily in voodoo. Hoodoo is of interest to those who study rural folk traditions, but it will not aid you in understanding true voodoo.
Is there anything else I should know about hoodoo?
Not if you're...
The doorway is already open.
Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Come back again.